안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 오늘은 3월 5일 금요일이죠. 불금이네요, 불금. 하지만 전 내일 야간 출근입니다. 오늘 너무 힘들어서 이거 보이십니까 이거? 이거 보여요 이거? 파스 붙인 거? 진짜. 제가 오랜만에 육체 노동을 아주 오지게 했더니 죽을 것 같습니다. 그래서 오늘은 일단은 지금 근육통 약도 먹었고 파스도 붙였어요. 팔굽혀펴기 하겠습니다. 팔굽혀펴기를 한 5개에서 10개 해보면서 현재 몸 상태를 한번 체크를 해볼게요. 지금 여기 팔도 다 알이 배겼는데 내일 오늘 하룻밤 자고 나면 괜찮아지겠죠? 내일 오전에 운동을 좀 빡시게 하겠습니다. 그래야 오후에 잠을 푹 잘 테니까. 내일 완전히 쉬면은 부담 없이 운동하고 막 그럴 텐데 내일 또 출근이어서. 일단 팔굽혀펴기 하겠습니다. 역시 운동할 때는 CNN이죠.
On CNN. Across Africa, businesses are working together like never before. All new on CNN, Connecting Africa.
Join me, Eleni Jokas, as we crisscross the continent to show you how new connections between people, places, and projects are revolutionizing commerce in Africa.
All new Connecting Africa on CNN. In association with Afreximbank.
와, 저거 어디냐. 잠시만. 팔굽혀펴기 좀 잘 되는데. 여기 진짜 알배겨서 이 팔 흔들리는 여기 아파요.
There is a clear pattern on how governments and leaders use the power in their hands.
Will this change Europe? Demonstrations erupted over unemployment and lack of basic services. There could be some very serious national security questions. Across the US, states are scrambling to ramp up their vaccine rollout.
Living and working in the US right now gives me an important perspective as an outsider looking in.
How divided is America? Quite divided. You've cut off any friends or family who are Republican.
Yes.
Do you see it more of a loyalty test?
Politicians hoping to turn all of this energy into vote.
How do you balance your politics and the need to make a statement?
and this is CNN.
So imagine the day when virtually everyone around you is eligible for the coronavirus vaccine. In one Arizona county, that day is now. CNN's Kyung Wah has the story.
Gila County, Arizona, population 54,000. Just 90 minutes east of Phoenix is a glimpse into America's vaccine future.
That's it?
Kevin Kane, age 24, a new father.
Easy peasy.
Like everyone 18
Oh,
and
wow,
older in
that's
Gila
really
County
가볍지?
can get the Moderna vaccine.
Feels great, you know, feels like I can actually move on with my life when this thing's over.
It's been tough worrying about COVID-19 while working as a pizza chef. His boss is John Wong.
Without the vaccine, you know, I noticed we were down 30-40% on the business.
Today, 37% of eligible residents here have been vaccinated with their first dose, a number climbing by the day.
My second shot was last Friday.
Do you notice that people look different and feel different?
They're dining out more, knowing that there's a vaccine out there. There is a lot of hope.
Gila County Health Department.
How did they do it?
We set up the pandemic exactly like what we would do during our fire season.
This is that incident command, run to handle a disaster.
My background is not in health, it's in emergency management. Before that, I was in law enforcement.
So you're a former cop?
I am.
Or two.
Rapidly communicating with the entire county just as they would during an emergency to relay news about mass vaccination sites.
Today we have only 2 positive cases, where about a month ago we were up to 60 a day. It's a load off our shoulders. It's a tremendous amount of stress just going away all at once, and it feels good.
This is our vaccine freezer, and these are our 2 vaccine refrigerators.
You can take care of 10 people with this vial.
Yes. So right now we have 20 doses in this box. So
모더나 COVID.
The county says having
19.
enough vaccine supply and getting doses into arms is easier when your population is as small as Gila County. But progress isn't without problems.
We are seeing a hesitancy, especially with the younger population. Is that one of the biggest challenges going forward, is hesitancy? I really do believe it is.
But Gila
자,
County,
우리도 빨리
we're just on.
백신이
Is this your first one?
It is indeed.
Right.
Reaching so many that Paul Miller, who works in the county but lives in Tucson, can get the vaccine. And picture hugging his parents again.
We haven't seen him in a year, and I've got a 2-year-old at home, and they haven't seen their granddaughter in a year, and so, it's one step closer to going and seeing them.
As a reminder, vaccines go to the states. States distribute to the counties. If you live in a large, complex county, it is going to take longer. Access and timing, it will depend on very much where you live. That's why here at Cobre Valley Regional Center, they are able to schedule a full day of second doses of the vaccine. Kyung Wah, CNN, Gila County, Arizona.
Our thanks to Kyung for that package. Let's bring in Dr. Ashish Jha, Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health. I wish I lived in that county. That is so lucky for everybody who lives there, Dr. Jha. And every state, it seems, is trying a different approach to how they get the vaccines out. Some are using the comorbidities. Some, like New Jersey, if you've ever been a smoker, you get the vaccine right now. I don't know anybody in New Jersey who hasn't been a smoker, number one. Then there are some places like Connecticut where it's based on age, and if you're just above 55, regardless of your health situation or comorbidities, you can get it. And so do we know scientifically which approach works best?
Yeah, so first of all, good morning. Thanks for having me on. There are a couple of things that are, I think, really important. One is simplicity is really helpful for moving vaccines out faster and actually being more equitable, because complex rules make it hard for people who are disadvantaged. But the second is we know who's at risk for having complications of the disease, right? And that's older people, people with comorbidities. So I think some of the standout states like Connecticut, New Mexico, West Virginia really have prioritized age first, and that strikes me as probably the most reasonable way to go. It's probably the best way to get most number of people made safe quickly as possible.
Dr. Jha, I know you like seeing stories like Kyung's out of Gila County, Arizona, because it's a success story for vaccines. It gives people a reason to go get the shots. And along those lines, we're waiting on the CDC guidance for what people can do when they're fully vaccinated. And our sense is it's going to be fairly tepid or limited guidance about what they can do. What would you like to see from the CDC? If it were up to you, Dr. Jha's guidance for Americans on how to behave if everyone's vaccinated, what would you say?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I believe the science is. And the science is that when you have two vaccinated people spending time together, it's pretty close to normal. Like you don't have to be wearing masks, you can be getting together for meals, and it's very, very safe. There are some more subtleties around vaccinated people with unvaccinated people. I'd like to see some CDC guidance on that. But mostly, I'd like the thrust of this to be enthusiasm. These are terrific vaccines. And when you get vaccinated, it allows you to do a lot more things safely, especially when you're in the company of other people who are vaccinated.
Okay, well then help us understand what Detroit's mayor was doing, where they were going to get an allotment of Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which he basically turned away. Here's his reasoning. So Johnson & Johnson is a very good vaccine. Moderna and Pfizer are the best. Am I going to do everything I can to make sure the residents of the city of Detroit, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the residents of the city of Detroit get the best. Is now any time to be, turning your nose up at an offer of any vaccine?
Yeah, well, first of all, I disagree with the premise of that idea that somehow the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is inferior. I don't buy it. It's a far more nuanced picture than that. And the bottom line that I say is, would I be comfortable with my family, my loved ones getting the Johnson vaccine? Absolutely. It's a terrific vaccine. I think we get confused by these headline numbers of efficacy. It's apples to oranges. These are really good vaccines. I think people should just get them when it's their turn and not try to parse out which one might be better for you.
So, Dr. Jha, Dr. Fauci yesterday put a marker on the level that he thinks the country needs to get to in order to start feeling like you can lift some of these restrictions like the max mandates. He said 10,000 cases a day. We're at what, 65,000 today roughly? We're at 65,000 today. He said we need to be around 10,000 cases a day. How reasonable of a marker is that?
I think it's pretty reasonable. If you think about it, 10,000 cases a day, we're still going to have 100, 200 people dying almost every day. That's still a good amount of suffering and illness. And the reason why that's a pretty reasonable marker is I think we can get there when we have broad proportion of the population vaccinated. It doesn't mean we have to wait that long to relax any restrictions. But mask mandates are not that costly. They're not disruptive to business. We should absolutely keep them in until we get infection numbers much lower.
Governor Jim Justice, Republican of West Virginia, agrees with you. Here is what he said.
We're going to do the smart thing in West Virginia. We're not going to do the thing that's just politically correct. I don't know really what the big rush to get rid of the mask is, because these masks have saved a lot of lives.
How can we still be having mask debates? What's the big restriction on your personal freedom to wear a mask when you go outside to protect other people?
Yeah, as we know, this just got horribly politicized in ways that are totally unnecessary. We have lots of things that we do for public health. We wear seatbelts, we don't drink and drive. I guess those people could argue abridgments to freedom, but we do them because it's good for us, it's good for other people. Masks are very similar, and we're so close to a point where we actually can safely get rid of the mask mandate. This is not the time to do it. Let's wait until a lot more people are vaccinated, and especially high-risk people are vaccinated.
Dr. Ashish Jha, thank you very much for being with us this morning. And for the record, I'd be sad, I think, if you moved to Gila County, Arizona.
You would?
I think I would be.
Well, maybe
a long vacation. Maybe a long vacation.
That's what I'll do.
Okay.
I wonder if I could get a vaccine if I just took a vacation there. I'm going to find out. Thank you very much, and your day continues right now.
The White House is making one final push to pass the COVID relief bill through the Senate over the objections of Republicans.
All I'm trying to do is make this a more deliberate process.
More states rolling back
COVID-19
safety measures.
I will not keep the mask order in effect.
Evidence supports their use and they can prevent disease and death.
On average, more than 2 million doses now going into American arms every day.
As we continue to vaccinate more and more and more, we'll get rid of the mask. But I don't know really what the big rush is.
This is New Day with Allison Camerata and John Brennan.
Welcome to our viewers in the United States and all around the world. This is New Day. $1.9 trillion of relief, $1,400 checks to millions of Americans, something that 62% of Americans say they want. Today, the Senate begins debate on the relief bill, and debate is good. If you have an argument against it, have at it. Is it targeted enough? Is it too much money going to the wrong places? Debate it. Instead, overnight, that debate had to wait for story time. Republican Senator Ron Johnson demanded that the 628-page bill be read out loud. It took 11 hours. We also have new reporting on how Republicans intend to gum up the works even more today.
And to be clear, he didn't read it out loud. He delegated that.
He had to be in the room. Interestingly enough, though, he had to be in the room the whole
all
time.
11 hours?
Yeah, because if he didn't, then someone could object to and stop the reading there. So he has some stamina.
Okay, good to know. Also, federal investigators are examining the communications between members of Congress and Capitol rioters to see whether lawmakers wittingly or unwittingly helped the insurrectionists. At this point, investigators say they have
발굴
no
발표기
evidence that
20개만 더 하고
knowingly aided or
끝내도록
aided
하겠습니다.
the insurrection, but the investigation continues. And Lauren Fox is on Capitol Hill with our top story. Lauren.
Good morning, Allison. 10 hours and 45 minutes. That is how long the Senate clerks were reading that 628-page bill. That's how long it ultimately took them. They finished in the middle of the night, and at the end, Senator Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat from the state of Maryland, rose to ask for some consent to go ahead and restart this debate beginning at 9 a.m. today in the U.S. Senate. And I want to tell you why that is significant. He argued that they are going to have 3 hours of debate, and that's important because remember, the whole reason that Senator Ron Johnson wanted the reading of that bill was he was arguing he wanted to delay this process. In the end, instead of having 20 hours of debate because there wasn't a Republican there to object at the end of this process, they are now just going to have 3 hours of debate. Then they will start at noon with this vote-a-rama. And of course, this is a very well-known process up here on Capitol Hill. It's an exhausting process because what it means is one amendment after another, about one amendment every 10 minutes until senators can't stand it anymore. We expect that Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent from the state of Vermont, is going to offer an amendment on raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. But after that, we expect just one Republican amendment after another, and that is intended to put Democrats in a tough spot on a series of issues, whether that's energy, whether that's immigration, whether it's specific provisions in the bill that they want to call out and call attention to. Now, the president has made it clear, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has made it clear, he wants Democrats united against these poison pill amendments. Will they be able to stick together on every single one? That's going to be
마지막 20개.
at the end of this process, and it could be 12 hours, it could be 24 hours. We just don't know at this point. There will be a final vote on whether or not to pass that $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. We expect that Democrats have the votes that they need. We have our eyes on one Republican, Senator Lisa Murkowski, who has not said whether or not she would support this piece of legislation or not. We expect it'll pass, but it's going to be a long few hours ahead. John?
Hey, Lauren, one procedural question. What's to keep Republicans
내일
from
아침에 많이
offering
하겠습니다.
amendments until infinity?
Oh, nothing. Just exhaustion.
Oh, nothing.
It is a matter of how